Hey, welcome to the Horsepower Shop, where today our challenge is to see how much street-legal horsepower we can bolt onto a popular late-model muscle car. In this case, it's an 03 Cobra that comes from the factory with a supercharged 4.6-liter engine. And, of course, it's got an onboard computer, which many of you may consider to be a barrier to making more power.
Yeah, but before computers, you had to swap out the camshaft, cylinder heads, intake, carb, and who knows what else just to make more power. But nowadays, you can make more power using that computer by changing things like the ignition timing and the fuel delivery rate. Now, to do that with our Cobra, we're going to use this handheld power programmer from Hypertech. But first, we need to do a bone stock baseline with our Cobra.
Okay, looks like 364 horsepower at the rear wheels. Good place to start. Now let's see how we can improve on that with this power programmer.
It plugs right into the diagnostic port under the dash. Then we just follow the programmer's on-screen prompts by answering a few yes or no questions. The whole procedure should only take about 15 minutes.
By the way, that Hypertech programmer also allows you to compensate for different rear-end ratios and tire diameters. Plus, it controls the rev limiter, speed limiter, and cooling fans. Now, if you have an automatic car, you can also adjust the shift points and firmness. But the coolest part is the fact that it doesn't void your warranty, and you can also go back to the stock tuning.
Well, looks like I'm done here. Let's make another run.
Man, 407. That's an increase of 43 horsepower, and we didn't even get our hands dirty. Ain't technology great?
Well, I hate to burst your bubble, but we will have to get our hands dirty when we swap out the blower pulleys. Now, this thing came from the factory with about a 3.5-inch pulley that'll generate up to about 8.5 pounds of boost max.
Yeah, and we're going to replace it with this two-piece pulley setup from UPR Products. Now, what this is going to do is allow us to change out the pulley size without actually removing the hub from the blower itself. Now, we're going to start out with this 3-inch pulley. It's going to allow that blower to spin up to about 12 pounds of boost. And even with that smaller pulley, we can still use the stock belt by adding this idler pulley to the front of the engine. Now, this thing's going to do a couple of things for us. First of all, it's going to get rid of that extra belt slack, but even more importantly, it's going to help eliminate any belt slippage. Now, let me show you how easy it's going to be to install this new pulley. Start by removing the shroud. Then, after unbolting the pulley retaining bolt, remove the belt. Using a removal tool, pull the stock pulley off the blower shaft. Then reverse the tool and push the new pulley into place. The idler bolts up next. And finally, we can reinstall the belt.
Hey, good job. By the way, you won't be able to reuse that factory shroud with the idler, so when you're under the hood, you have to be careful not to get any fingers or loose clothing caught up in the belt. But now, it's time to reprogram the computer once again to optimize our fuel and spark for that added boost.
While Joe gets ready to make this next run here, this is something that you Cobra owners really need to know about. Engines that were built before November 1st, 2002 have a potential problem with the driver's side cylinder head. In fact, Ford even issued a TSB or a technical service bulletin that they sent out to all the dealers. Now, to check the build date of your engine, just take a look down here on the valve cover right below the master cylinder, and there you're going to see a barcoded sticker that'll have your build date on it. If your engine was built before November 1st and you hear that ticking noise coming out of the driver's side, chances are you've got some valve guide wear. And what Ford would like you to do is bring your Cobra into the dealership, have them check it out and see if the cylinder head needs to be replaced. Now, apparently there was a design problem that caused an overheating condition, and this new cylinder head takes care of that problem. You can ID this new head by the blue paint that's found above the exhaust port.
If your early Cobra hasn't been updated, well, this programmer is going to recognize that, and it won't let you reprogram your computer. But if you have replaced your head, all you have to do is call Hypertech. They'll issue you a code, and that'll let you proceed. But right now, let's proceed to make another dyno run and see how the pulley swap affects our numbers. I can feel the difference. How much difference? Well, you'll have to wait until after the break to find out. Stay with us.
We want to know what type of work you do on your ride. Log on and take our poll. I want to know just how big a wrench are you?
Hey, welcome back to our Cobra Power Play. Now, if you're just joining us, here's what you've missed. We started out with a box stock 03 Cobra that comes from the factory with a supercharged twin-cam 4.6-liter motor. Now, right out of the box, this thing spun up 364 horsepower at the rear wheels. Then we reprogrammed the computer using a Hypertech power programmer, spun it up again, and this time we picked up an additional 43 horsepower. Pretty impressive, huh? Then we swapped our stock blower pulley for a 3-incher. We reprogrammed the computer again, made another run, and made this 415 horsepower, and that's an extra 8 horses.
But we ain't done yet. Now let's see what happens when we swap out the 3-inch pulley for this one that measures 2.8 inches, and this one's going to be even easier to install. All we have to do this time is remove the belt, then these 5 bolts. And we replace one pulley with another. Of course, the smaller pulley is going to require a shorter belt. So we're going to replace the stocker with this shorter 74-inch belt, and well, after this, we can recalibrate the computer once again with our programmer and make that final run.
Hey, not bad. 427 or another 12 horsepower. Now, here's a quick review to show you how we got here. The bone stock Cobra made 364 horsepower at the rear wheels. Then, after using the power programmer, we got the most gain of 43 horsepower. The 3-inch pulley bumped that to 415. And the 2.8-inch pulley was good for another 12 for a grand total of 427 horsepower, and that's 63 over the baseline.
Man, this has been a quick and easy and inexpensive way to add power to a late model muscle car. But you might be wondering by now, why didn't we take it further with things like a new intake and catback exhaust? And well, the answer is we could. But the Hypertech power programmer we used is optimized for the modifications we made today, and, well, optimized is the key word here. You see, that's why we saw significant gains with each change, particularly when we reprogrammed the stock setup in the computer.
And modifying the intake and exhaust would upset those optimized settings. The engine could run lean and possibly get damaged. Now, Hypertech can't anticipate every possible combination of components, so they set their focus on the ones that'll give you the best bang for the buck. Now, if you do decide to change your intake and exhaust, make sure you check with the manufacturer for their suggestion on how to keep your motor fat and happy.
Well, you'll be happy to know that you don't need a fat wallet to take on a project like this. In fact, that power programmer costs about $350, and the blower pulley and idler, well, they'll set you back about another $2.50. Now, if you've been doing a little bit of math, you've probably already figured out that that's less than $10 a horsepower. Plus, you won't have to spend all weekend out in the driveway chasing that horsepower. A couple hours ought to be more than enough to get the job finished. Well, speaking of that, we're not finished here in the horsepower shop either. Next, we're going to put the Supernova there on a diet, and we'll show you how it sheds a few pounds right after the break. Pounds right after.